tell me when.
Go.
All right. Hi, I'm Tyler, and I want to share a little bit of my experiences with these Kamado grills. Some stuff I've picked up over the years, just to try and help somebody out. Specifically, I want to talk about the Kamado Joe Jr. I do most of my cooking on this grill because it's perfect for a two-person household or a house where you have just a couple little kids like I do. And you can cook a whole pork shoulder on one of these. You can cook a flat or a point of a brisket. You can't cook a whole brisket on it, but you could probably cook a flat or a point on here. I've cooked brisket that I cut up into 3 sections. Some people say not to do that because of the fat, but anyway, I've cooked parts of brisket on here myself. It's about a 13-inch diameter grilling grate, I think, and I've had a lot of really good experiences with this. I use this probably 3 times a week, and I use the Kamado Joe standard size one. I probably use this about once every other week, maybe 2 times a month, maybe. So talking about this, because there's not a whole lot of people who give informative videos about the Joe Jr. So they come with this grill gripper tool and the ash tool that comes with all the Kamado Joe products. I'm not sponsored by anybody in here. What's up? Okay. I'm not sponsored by anybody in these videos. I just wanted to share the stuff that I do to get it ready. So if you just got yourself a new Kamado grill and you don't know where to start, I'm going to try and help you get started. So you get the grill that comes with the grilling grate, comes with the little rack for the grate, and then it comes with the soapstone for diffusing the heat. And when you fill up your box, or your fire box, you want to put your coal parallel with this is called a fire ring right here. You want your coal to be flush with the fire ring. So once you've got your coal flush with the fire ring, you're good to go. You're not going to use all the coal for pretty much 99% of your cooks. You'll pretty much never run out of coal. So when you go to do your next cook, just fill the coal back up to the line and let the grill use however much it needs to get your cook done. Anyway, back to the grill. If you decide that you want to do some smoking, these are really great for smoking. I've found that the temperatures are harder to control than they are on the bigger size grill. They're a lot more susceptible to temperature swings, and there's a lot of tools out there that can help you with that, like this one right here. This is called a Flame Boss. There's a similar product called the CyberQ, I think is what it is, CyberQ Cloud or something. They're both pretty similar from all the research I've done, but I've just got this one. It costs about $350, and to me it's worth it because, like I said, I use my grill 3 or 4 times a week. So most of my cooking I do is smoking. I found that you can smoke just about anything, and it pretty much always tastes better, but you have to be careful and mindful of a few things. So I'll move on to the next topic, and I'll tell you about what those things I've learned to be mindful of is. First is your wood. If you buy wood to put in your smoker, your small size Kamado, you want to make sure that you get these lump pieces. You can use wood chips, but they'll combust, and the thing about smoking is if the wood combusts and catches on fire, you're going to get a really acidic, nasty, bitter kind of taste to your food. If you're really new to smoking and you haven't eaten a lot of smoked food, you may like it or you may hate it. I liked it when I first tasted it, the acidic taste, and as I ate more and more food, I began to kind of dislike it a little more. And what I've found is people who like smoked food are okay with it generally, and people who haven't eaten a lot of it that like the smoked flavor are okay with it. But overall, almost everybody likes the smoked food if you wait for your smoke to be clean. So using these lump pieces, the big chunks that are about the size of your fist, you can achieve a nice clean, what they call thin blue smoke. On these Kamados, it's hard to tell when it's a thin blue smoke. So I'll tell you about how put this in your box to make a good clean fire, and then I'll tell you about how to tell when you got a good clean smoke. So in your firebox, you want to bury it down. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. This is our first video, and we're just trying to kind of working on stuff, aren't we, honey? So you just kind of bury it in there. I gotta get my gloves. Let me show you another thing you're gonna need whenever you get one of these. These gloves right here. They don't come with the grills, but you need these. Get yourself a pair of these gloves because there's a lot of handling of hot stuff and dirty stuff. You can use this for all of it.
And they're machine washable.
Yeah, you can throw them in the washing machine. Now, it will tear them up over time, but they're $15, and you just get new ones. I've got a new pair in there that I use because this part is not completely heat protectant. So if I'm going to mess with the coal and it's hot, I'll go grab my new pair and move the hot coals around if I want to, or I'll pick up the hot grilling grate with the new pair. So anyway, get yourself a nice pair of gloves like this. And if you want to do like I do, get 2 of them, one for all the dirty coals and messing around with all that, and then one for whenever it's really hot that you want to just save your fingers. Then you can just wash the dirty ones and never wash the clean ones. So anyway, I use these every time I cook because first thing I do is I stir around the old ash. You just stir it like this, and it creates a lot of dust in the air, so I usually hold my breath through it. There's other ways to do this. You can buy a thing called a kick ash basket, and that would allow you to just lift up the thing and shake it, and the ash is supposed to fall through into the bottom where you can scoop it out. I never bought one of those just because this works for me for now. I might try one of those one day, but at any rate, you just stir it around. You want to kind of get in there real deep in there and stir it around a little bit and get all that old ash to fall down into your grate down here where you can scoop it out. If there's old ash sitting in the firebox up here, it could impede your airflow, or it could even rise up onto your meat. I don't think that's going to happen. It could happen. I'm just letting you know that it could. So just stir it around and try and get all that out of there. There's no need to remove all this and use a vacuum and clean it every time you use your grill. I haven't found a need for that. I've seen some people talk about doing stuff like that, but I just stir it around, clean out the grate, clean out the vent. So anyway, you're over here, and you're getting ready to run your smoker, maybe for the first time, and you filled up your firebox with charcoal like I have. Just take a piece of lump and scoop yourself out a little section, and put the lump down in the coal, and then slide the charcoal back on top of it like that. So when you can't see the lump of wood anymore, then you know that you're good. I'm going to kind of hurry it along, but normally I'd probably add an extra little bit of coal on top of here just to cover it up more. The reason for covering it is it helps it to keep from combusting and creating that nasty bitter taste that gets on your smoked food. I've found that some food can handle the bitter taste better than others. If you're doing
pizza rolls.
Huh?
No pizza rolls.
Yeah. You don't want to do anything with bread in it. I tried smoking pizza rolls once, and I was using this wood that got caught on fire, and it left a horrible taste, and they were disgusting. So you can bake goods in your Kamado, but you don't want to add any wood to it. That's been my experience. If you add any wood, apple wood, anything, it's going to give smoke, and just don't do it. That's just my opinion. All this is just my opinion on stuff. So anyway, if you're going to bake, you can do it in these. You just have to be really careful that you don't create any smoke. So now that your lump charcoal is buried in the coals and you keep it from combusting, that will allow it to give you a longer smoke and thinner blue smoke, and it will taste really good. I mentioned that some meats will get ruined if they encounter this dirty smoke. You're pretty safe doing something like pork shoulder. That's been one of my favorite things to smoke because it's very forgiving. If you introduce some dirty smoke to it, it tends to still be good at the end. It's also a really long cook time, so 20 minutes or 30 minutes of dirty smoke is not going to ruin it. But if you're smoking something like a choice or select a prime ribeye or something like that, you really want to be careful with your smoke because you can pretty much ruin the whole ribeye with dirty smoke. And I did that a couple times. So you really want to be careful and make sure that the smoke coming out is thin. So I mentioned on these Kamados, on the Joe Juniors, it's harder to tell if you're getting clean smoke. So how do you know if your smoke coming up is clean or not? I have a really simple method for that. There's two things. If the smoke coming out of here is white or billowy, which it rarely is when it's a 225 or 250, but if it's white and billowy and thick coming out of this top vent here, then it's not clean. You don't even need to smell it. The second thing to do is smell what's coming out of your vent and see what it smells like. It should be a wisp kind of smoke. It'll be real thin. So again, if it's white and billowy like a nice cloud on a sunny day like today, then your grill isn't ready to put your food on. What you have to do if it's billowy is let your grill cook off all that dirty, nasty, whatever it's doing, just let it finish. I don't know exactly what it's doing, to be honest, but if you give it some time, it'll thin out and it'll be good again. So the thin blue smoke, if you see thin blue smoke, just give it a smell, lean down, take a little smell in, and it should be satisfying. And then when it's satisfying, then you know your food's ready to go on there. So let's say we've got our thin blue smoke, our grill is to temperature. Before you put your food on, you want to put, and today I'm going to be talking almost entirely about how to get started smoking on one of these, because I think grilling is pretty straightforward, really. You get the grill hot, you put the food on. You can watch any number of videos on how to grill on a Kamado or any other kind of grill, and it's all pretty much the same. You want high heat, and you want to do it quick. You can do steaks and burgers and whatnot, but I'm going to talk specifically about smoking because I don't think this grill gets enough attention with smoking. So once you've got most of your coals lit, then while my wife was turning off her alarm, I remembered I should probably back up a little bit. In order to get your grill hot, there's a lot of different methods you can do. Personally, I like these charcoal chimneys. These work really, really well. This one's too big for the Joe Jr. I use it on that one, I use it on this one, but get yourself a really small charcoal chimney.
Or it turns out like that.
Yeah, you'll melt the handle, because when your charcoals are getting hot, all this stuff is out of here, and you put your charcoal basket on there. The heat is rising, and it's gonna melt this. It's melted on me, and I grabbed it and did like a dance when I realized how hot it was. So get a small charcoal chimney and fill it to the first. Well, on here, just put like 6 or 7 big chunks of lump charcoal in here, and then put yourself some paper in the bottom. You can use, what I like to use is I go to my grocery store and I get these paper bags, and I tear off a piece of it, about like that, and I ball it up, and then I get a couple pieces of old printer paper that I use for whatever. Any kind of paper will work, except for I think maybe magazine paper doesn't combust as well, but any paper that's real flammable will work. But again, some paper just won't. It's hard to light. It's like got more plastic or something than it is paper. So you take this stuff and you just shove it in the bottom, and you only put enough coal in here to get your grill started, because these Kamado Joe Juniors are real sensitive. So you get a couple, 5 or 6 pieces of big lump charcoal in here, and you take all these out and you just set it on top of your coal bed. I guess I'll show you how to do that, so there's no confusion. Just like this. At this point, I'd probably take a bag of charcoal and dump it in here. Always use lump charcoal with these. You'll taste a big difference. Briquettes are just not very good. You can taste a lot of chemicals they use when they press the briquette. So use lump charcoal. Royal oak is my favorite. You can get it at Walmart, or I think you can get it at like Lowe's maybe, or Home Depot. Anyway, put yourself a couple pieces of briquette or lump charcoal in there, and then you're going to light the charcoal, or the paper, I'm sorry. And this is kind of overboard. I use a butane lighter, and I think it's really fun to use. And also, I don't have to worry about running out of those little extender things. Are just not very good. They tend to run out a lot for me. So I use this, and I can always tell if I've got fuel in there because I can shake it and hear it. And also, these work with other grills too. They work with the tabletop grill I've got in there that I use sometimes. And you can. And I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm just telling you that this works for me. So you turn it on, and you get your fire, and you want to turn it down pretty low because, well, unless you want to turn it high, I guess, and just cook everything right there. This is a torch you'd use for torching the top of like a creme brulee or a steak, maybe. I guess you could do that with. And you just lean down there and you light your coal. I'm not going to do that right now, though. So once you light your paper, not your coal. The paper will then smolder and simmer for a bit, and all the coal in here will begin to get hot. So as the coal gets hot, you can walk away and spend 10 minutes doing stuff, but you want to come back pretty early and check this. I used to light coals for my dad, and he had a charcoal grill, but he used briquettes. And he would wait, and I think this is common, I think it's probably the right thing to do, for the coals to get ashen covered. You don't want to wait for that with lumped charcoal in this grill. If you're smoking, you can do it right away. As soon as what's going to happen is the lump is going to burn so intensely and so hot that fire is going to start to come up out of this, and you can dump it. You really don't have to wait very long. This is kind of like a big charcoal chimney. So you dump your coals out, and I usually will just smooth them out. Don't push your hot coal down into your cold coal because you want your fire to burn from the top down. So as you smoothed out your hot coal, leave the top open for maybe just a couple minutes. Actually, you can close it right away, I would say. What are these birds doing up there? Shining on them.
They are angry. That one must not be welcome in that nest.
Oh boy. Got an intruder.
It was in kill mode.
So what you can do is, where was I at? Talking about the coals, I think. So you've got your hot coals, you poured them out onto your cold coals, but don't push the hot coal down into the cold coal because you want your fire to burn from the top down. Otherwise, it's going to get too hot. Your grill's going to be really hot, and your fire is going to get kind of out of control, and it's just not good. So leave the hot coal on top, and as they burn out and the fire goes down towards the bottom of your grill, that will give your apple wood or whatever wood you've chosen in the middle time to smoke and let out its smoke. So I think I've covered how to do this for the most part.
You want to show them about your cleaning supplies?
Oh yeah, the cleaning supplies. That's a good idea. So.
And you're covering your table?
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from the charcoal gloves that I use for heat stuff, I've also got a rubber pair of reusable, washable machine. Well, I guess you could put them in the machine. We do sometimes, but they're just a rubber pair of gloves that you can use to handle hot food. It's easier to pick up hot food with these big rubber insulated gloves on than it is to do it with something like this, because the heat will go straight through these. There's no insulation. So I use these. So I've got 3 pairs of gloves really that I rely on. I use disposable rubber gloves, reusable rubber gloves. You can find insulated rubber gloves on eBay or Amazon or whatever. You can find those on Amazon. Of course, these are just typical medical gloves. Medical nitrile gloves is what they are, and powder free. And what you want to do is you can just put these on whenever you handle raw food. If you want to pick up a big raw piece of pork and put it on your grill, you don't have to get your hands dirty and run inside and like trying to open the door with your elbow or anything. You just take your glove off and throw it away. So get a box of these, and let me show you some other stuff. This little pie crust here is really good for catching your drippings. You don't need to. I've found personally that these grills don't require any extra water added to them, so you can optionally put water in your drip pan if you want. I do that usually. I fill it to like that line right there, maybe if I want, just to make it easier to wash. Because if you don't put any water in this, then the drippings will solidify and be really hard to get out of your pan. But anything that's the shape of this pie tin, this disposable pie tin, will work for a drip pan. I found something at my local grocery store that's a reusable pan, much better quality than this. It's made out of steel or something, and I use that for my drippings. This is also good for collecting your ash because you can't fit a bucket underneath the ash grate. So what you do is you use this, and you can set that, if you don't have a stand like I do, you can set it on the ground and you can scoop them in there like that. So you can scoop them in there and you can throw them in a bucket or whatever you want to do with it. I usually also, I'll throw that on like a tree in my yard or a garden or something. It helps. I don't really know if this is true. My dad's always done this, but it seems to help the plants grow. So I don't throw it away. I like to reuse it. I pretty much reuse everything. Cleaning, right. So I have a couple. I only have a few things I use for cleaning. This is just a standard scrub brush that you use in the bathroom on tile. I use this to clean my grill grates. I find that it works really well for most of the grilling. Most of my grill grates work really well with this, but sometimes the fat will get solidified and caked onto the grill, and then I use this. I don't know what it's called. Somebody might be able to post in the comments what this thing is, but I bought it a while ago on Amazon.
Sponge stone or something.
Yeah, it's some sort of stone with sponginess, holes in it or something. But this thing will take your old dirty grate to looking brand new. It's really, really good, and it just takes a little bit of scrub, and it wears out these grooves in it to make a really nice, clean grill grate. So I use this about once every other month, and I use this every single time I cook, before and after usually. At least after. If you don't do it before, just do it afterward. And I don't wait till my grill is cool. I do it right when it's hot. I've also got one of these. I don't recommend these. I don't think it works very well. I find it kind of cumbersome, and that brush right there works really well. I wouldn't recommend using the wire brushes that people tend to use on most grills. Those bristles will come out. I had one come out on the ground one time, and my son stepped in it and went into his skin about that far. So.
And it probably gets in your food.
Yeah, if it got in your food, it could really hurt you. That would be the worst case. So I would highly recommend not using those and using something like this. These plastic bristles are really big, and they're not going to hurt anybody if it falls on the ground. And you'd totally see this if it got in your food. I've never had one of these even come off. So I find that to be much better than this. This too. So
that's your table and your cover.
The table, yeah. The cover is a generic. It's actually an oversized cover. I think it probably would fit that one a little better. It was just a $15 cover that fits like a 22-inch grill, I think. I bought a bigger one because I wanted to try and cover my table up, but it didn't fit it quite right. So you can just get any grill cover. They make some for smaller grills that you can get to, but I just wanted to keep the rain off that. The top of these is made out of cast iron, and it will rust if you don't keep it covered and keep it conditioned and stuff. So the temperature swings, I talked a little bit about that. And
the table.
Oh, the table, right. I'll come back to the table. This is called the Flame Boss 500, and I didn't really get to talk too much about it, but what it does is it keeps your temperature stable at whatever temperature you set it to. It works, you can access it wherever you are on the internet. There's a web app, there's a mobile app, and you can check out your cook and how it's doing and change the temperature if you want. If you want to set the temperature up or down, you can do that. And it's real basic. I had to do a little cutting on the fixture that goes in here on the bottom vent. I had to do some cutting down here that fits in there with some tin snips. It was very easy though. So I would absolutely recommend getting a controller. They're kind of expensive when you consider the price of the grill, but they have a year warranty, and I use mine a lot, so I think it's worth it. It saves me from having to come out here and check the temperature every half hour or 45 minutes. What else?
Talk
The
about
stand.
why we use this one more often.
This one? Well, it's more convenient. It's smaller. The fact that I use this one more than that one because it saves charcoal. If I use the big one, it's going to burn more charcoal to heat up all that space. So I use the little one because the things that I cook tend to be smaller. So if I cook a whole brisket, I'd put it on the big one. But if I'm cooking a pork shoulder, I can pretty much cook anything I want on this little grill with no problem. Because if I cooked the whole brisket, we wouldn't even be able to eat it before it would go bad. So I would probably cut the flat and the point off and cook them separate. And I mentioned earlier I cooked a brisket on this once that I had separated into 3 sections that apparently you're not supposed to do, but I did it anyway. It tasted great. So I cook almost everything on this. It's small and it saves a lot of fuel. This, I showed you the amount of fuel in here that's in here now. I had filled it up. This is after 2 hours of smoking. I still have enough fuel. I still have all this. That's after 2 hours of smoking already. So a $10 bag of charcoal will last me a month. And like I said, I cook almost every day. I cook probably 3 times a week. So the stand, I just built it out of 2x4s and what are these, 2x12s or something? I don't know what else to say. I think that.
Well, they don't currently have one.
Oh, right. They don't. Kamado Joe doesn't make a stand for the little grill, but
So hopefully they will.
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any more to say, but if you
In
have
your
any
little station, if you want to talk about.
Oh yeah, the grilling station. If you have any comments about anything that I've said, or if you have any input, I'm still learning. It's a fun hobby, and I really enjoy it. But I wanted to just make a little video about the Kamado Joe Jr. because there's not too many. And I'll probably show some more stuff in the future if this one picks up a little bit. We'll see. I might show my Flame Boss, how it performs on it. And maybe put like a chicken or something on there. I cook a lot of whole chickens on there. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it.